In the early 2000s, a new uprising takes shape. Part child, part vehicle. A hybrid of innocence and havoc, propelled not by engines, but by pure, unfiltered energy, and one wheel embedded in the heel. They blur across gym floors, glide silently through mall corridors. They do not walk, they do not run, they roll, effortlessly, defiantly, rewriting the rules of locomotion with every drift. This is the story of Heelys, a shoe that promised freedom, a revolution disguised as fashion, a fleeting moment where gravity was optional and rebellion came with a plastic wheel. But what begins as a trend quickly spirals into something much bigger. Schools panic, hospitals fill, empires rise and fall, friendships fracture, factions fall, and at the centre of it all, the unstoppable momentum of childhood dreams strapped to a single unstable axis. This is not just footwear, this is Heelys. The 1990s, an era of neon grit, of counterculture rising from the asphalt. Across suburban driveways and urban sprawl alike, a new force pulses through the youth. It is not a movement born in boardrooms or classrooms. It begins in parking lots, in empty pools, in abandoned warehouses and hand-built ramps behind gas stations. This is the dawn of extreme sports. Skateboarding, once dismissed as a fringe activity, now surges into the cultural mainstream with unstoppable velocity. The kickflip becomes a rite of passage, the half-pipe a cathedral, the skateboarder a new breed of urban explorer, defying gravity and convention with every grind and gap. Television catches wind, beverage companies take note, and suddenly the world watches as young athletes fling themselves skyward, twisting and spinning for fleeting moments of airborne freedom. It is rebellion in motion, athleticism fused with artistry, danger branded and televised. It is not just a sport, it is a statement. And in the shadows of this movement, on the sun-kissed pavement of Huntington Beach, where children carve chaotic paths on longboards and inline skates, one man watches and dreams. His name is Roger Adams, a skater himself, hailing all the way from Tacoma, Washington. It is said that he learned to roller skate at 9 months old, before he could even utter a word. He sees the lines being drawn between walkers and riders, between stillness and motion. He envisions something truly radical, something, as they say, totally tubular, if you will. What if walking and riding were one and the same? With deliberate hands, Adams hollows out the heel of an ordinary sneaker. Into that space, he places a wheel. Thus, the seeds are sown, not in silence, but in the echo of concrete. From the roar of skate parks and the rise of extreme culture, a new form of mobility is about to glide into the spotlight and spark a new, disruptive revolution. The year is 2000. The world holds its breath, waiting to see if computers will explode, if the sky will fall, if Y2K will take everyone's lives. It does not. Instead, something far more dangerous rolls quietly into the suburbs. Roger Adams, with the quiet determination of someone who absolutely refuses to walk anywhere and the fuel of a midlife crisis, establishes Healing Sports Limited in Carrollton, Texas. The name is clunky, the dream is not. Sneakers with wheels. Heelys, the first commercial models, hit the streets. Children everywhere, once limited to the pathetic pastime of walking, now discover they are deities, tiny gods with questionable balance and a total disregard for public safety. They look like shoes, ordinary, harmless, something a kid might wear to gym class and forget under a bench. But they are so much more. They are freedom. They are chaos. They are rebellion disguised as footwear. A movement is already in motion. Across tiled hallways, kids glide silently. They nod at each other in passing, not out of friendship, but recognition, brotherhood, sisterhood, purpose. In the cafeteria, the floor becomes a drift zone. Mashed potatoes skid across trays as these new Heely kids carve tight corners around lunch tables like it's the Monaco Grand Prix. The janitor's mop bucket, it waits, lurking, an ever-changing boss-level hazard with a rotating splash radius. Teachers shout, whistles blow, detention slips flutter like confetti, but it's no use. They are already gone. Kids are no longer just kids. They are operators, covert gliders, members of a rolling resistance who answer to no man, no woman, and no bell. Each one masters the art of the pivot, walking when watched, flying when free. Their code is unwritten but absolute. Heelys don't just catch on, they infect, like a contagious dream of movement that no adult can stop nor comprehend. And by the time anyone realizes, it's too late. The early 2000s belonged to the rollers, the Heelys kids, and nothing can stop them. They're flipping, spinning, grinding stair rails with the grace of a caffeinated spider monkey and the confidence of someone who's never known knee pain. Suburban sidewalks become launch pads. Shopping carts are repurposed as mobile ramps. The elderly start clutching their groceries just a little tighter. And still, no helmets, no pads, no protection to speak of. Though Heelys warns enthusiastic rollers to don safety gear, these pleas go unheeded. You see, they are sneakers after all, and thus meant for everyday use, rather than strictly the half-pipe like regular skates. These revolutionaries have no fear, however. The line between sneakers and hardcore stunt culture blurs. A flip here, a wall run there, a kid in cargo shorts doing a backspin next to a Cinnabon. They curate their own code names for their secret Heelys techniques. There's the crab walk, the shuffle, the sonic stop, the 180, the 360, the footy 360, the footy 180, and of course, the infamous slide draggy thingy, just to name a few. And what of the propaganda machine? Well, as usual, it doesn't help matters, does it? Their commercial shouts freedom right at the start, a bold statement to the powers that be from the very beginning. It's a wheel in your soul, surely a play on words with the word soul, as in spirit, implying that Heelys are not just a movement, but they are now a core of children's very identity. Another advertisement tells kids to walk, run or skate to your own beat, a blatant disregard for civilized society, more of a recruitment than a run-of-the-mill ad campaign. The message is loud and clear. Walking is for the weak. Parents buy in. Grandparents nod along. At least they're outside, they say, moments before little Timmy launches himself off a loading dock in a denim jacket. As the Heelys Kid revolution continues in full swing, they bring with them many allies. You see, factions have been waging war for domination of the extreme sports revolution, and Heelys sits at the centre of it all. Observe the bike kids. Loud, unapologetic, masters of the bike rack, where they arrive 10 minutes late, belligerently helmeted and carrying enough momentum to flatten a 6th grader. They are the freight trains of recess, and the bane of pedestrians and automotive drivers alike. The scooter kids, agile, tactical, armed with collapsible aluminum steeds and the power of indestructible shins, hardened by many accidental collisions with their vehicles of choice over hours of training. They even have their own PlayStation game. Then we have the skateboard kids, artful, rebellious, fueled by Mountain Dew and angst, the true leaders and pioneers of the X Games. Their kicks are worn, Their jeans are torn, their kickflips inconsistent but passionate. They move with purpose and mainstream appeal. The roller kids, on the other hand, well, they simply desire to have a nice time. And in the middle of everything, the Heelys kids. Not quite bikers, nor boarders, nor rollers, but gliders, floating somewhere in between. A less refined entry point for those who wish to disrupt the status quo. They are the common ground, the neutral zone, the kids who choose shoes with wheels. Under the Heelys banner, former rivals can now roll side by side. But even here, the divides run deep. There are the casuals who use Heelys to simply cruise from class to class. And then, of course, there are the tricksters who spin, grind and moonwalk on wheels. To the untrained eye, they all look the same. But within the Heelys ranks, a quiet hierarchy rolls ever onward. Even greater infighting begins to tear the Heelys faction apart. Within this gliding tribe, a rift forms. The sleek and balanced single-wheelers. The OGs, they call them. They project their insecurities of not feeling adequate enough for the real skaters they idolize and choose to look down upon the double-wheelers. That's right, Heelys released a beginner's line of shoes with 2 wheels. Single wheels call them training gliders, wannabe revolutionaries, and plastic-footed pretenders. They are seen as redundant, using an entry-level version of an already entry-level mode of transport. In return, the double-wheelers accuse the OGs of hallway elitism. Tensions arise, and then a new threat emerges. Towering, clipboard-wielding, whistle-blowing. The adults. Isn't it always? The Heelys kids' original rival, and their most formidable indeed. Armed with broken dreams, liability policies, and an unyielding disdain for hallway velocity. Schools across the nation begin to ban Heelys. 9 out of 10 institutions crack down. The official reason? Safety concerns. Detractors insist that the adults simply can't control what they can't catch. However, though we love a good rebellion here, perhaps the stuck-up adult faction has a point this time. As we observe this phenomenon, we see something peculiar and disconcerting. 51 injuries per 100,000 children. The Heelys, it seems, are not simply an accessory, they are a portal to danger. But let us remember, these injuries are not just the minor scrapes. Oh no. These are significant injuries, the kind that require the expertise of an orthopedic surgeon. Concussions, sprains, dislocations, and the most prevalent injury of all, fractures. This rate, it turns out, is only the tip of the iceberg. Minor injuries are far more numerous, though the details unfortunately remain a mystery, cured with some simple duct tape and Robitussin, I'm sure. In the summer of 2006, as the Heelys craze reaches its peak, something even more alarming happens. 34% of the injuries occur in children who were using these shoes for the very first time. Ah, the thrill of the new, inexperienced, unprepared. They wobble and tumble, their tiny bodies crashing to the unforgiving ground. We watch as the numbers grow. 70% of the injured children had used the shoes 5 times or fewer. The Heelys, it seems, are not a gentle introduction to the world of wheeled mobility. A few moments of giddy excitement followed by a sudden painful reality check. It is a brutal lesson in balance that children are bound to learn eventually, as life will knock all of us down at one point or another, no matter how much fun we're having. The sheer volume of these injuries have a profound effect on the medical ecosystem. 8% of the pediatric orthopedic department's workload is devoted to these victims of anarchy, a significant portion considering the wide range of injuries treated daily. And yet, in this carefully controlled chaos, we see something all too expected. Despite the availability of safety instructions, 12% of these children did not take proper precautions. It's not just a problem in the US, it is an epidemic that crosses oceans. Singapore's KK Women's and Children's Hospital chronicle their own brush with disaster. They are visited by 37 children in 7 months. Over a 10-week period during the summer school holidays, 67 children are treated for orthopedic injuries related to Heelys or similar products in Ireland. Perhaps an article of clothing that encourages such tricks as Angel of Death requires a bit more supervision. By 2007, the tides have turned. Bans sweep across schools and shopping malls like wildfire. Children find themselves grounded, not for swearing, but for performing the bloodstain. Authorities at last strike back. Unfortunately for the young ones of the millennium, they are forced to hang up their wheels. Heelys become known to be shoelaced with danger. Of course, the kids simply could wear the protective gear that was always intended to be worn with Heelys. But that would squander much of the point now, wouldn't it? On a conceptual level, the appeal of Heelys is that they are regular shoes that can be worn with everyday outfits. If one were to add elbow pads, knee pads and a helmet, then they may as well just put on some good old-fashioned roller skates. Otherwise, the novelty of it being a shoe loses all meaning. Even still, rebels continue to train in silence. No safety gear in sight. They practice in the back of supermarkets, glide under the cover of dusk. Their paths marked only by faint scuff trails are maps to something greater. But for many, the enforcement of unappealing safety wear and the limiting venues in which to drift and skid is enough to make them move on to the next big revolution instead. Amidst the controversy, Heelys Inc. faces a shareholder lawsuit to add injury to insult. To injury. Executives are accused of concealing the carnage of children's many hospital visits to preserve their stock price. The market reacts with the grace of a first-time Heelys user. The stock plummets. Over $648 million vanishes into the economic abyss. Truly, the wheel of fortune is cruel. It is a catastrophic fall in stock value as once devoted consumers abandon their beloved wheeled footwear. Analysts are left scratching their heads. Was it the speed of expansion, or was it the undeniable force of gravity that sent this high-flying brand spiraling to the ground? Perhaps, had they been more forthcoming, they could have saved themselves from a tragedy of this caliber. As stated, Heelys Inc. was expanding rapidly across the entire globe. It is possible that stretching themselves too thin was a major player in this downfall. Not only that, but the company was failing to cultivate an identity that transcended the fad phase. As interest wanes, Heelys struggles to maintain its relevance. Unlike other, more enduring brands, Heelys has failed to forge a lasting bond with its core audience. As these youthful enthusiasts mature, they either drift toward other realms of extreme sports or become the very adults they once sought to defy. And while we all wish that kids could rule the world at some point in our lives, the reality simply is they do not. Heelys' image as a disruptive, youthful product makes it appealing to a younger audience, but this same appeal also leads to significant pushback from schools, parents, and even some retailers who feared the potential for injuries and chaos. Or, at the very least, they found them very, very annoying. And so, like all great empires, Heelys crashes, leaving in its wake the wreckage of ambition, overconfidence, and a market that simply couldn't sustain its rapid pace. Despite everything that's happened, Heelys never completely vanished, and remains to this day. Though not the earth-shattering insurgence it once was, kids today are still able to have a taste of what it felt like to challenge authority in yesteryear. It seems Heelys Inc. has expanded their reach but in a more diligent, strategic way in the modern era. These days, they collaborate with popular brands like Minecraft and Hello Kitty. They have a campaign with fellow defunct apparel brand Ed Hardy, alongside influencer Tara Yummy. We reached out to Miss Yummy to confirm if that is indeed her government name. She declined to comment. We're sure it is. And what's more, Heelys now offers adult-sized footwear. That's right. You see, the young freedom fighters scuffing up hallways during Y2K now have little rascals of their own. But given that Zillennials are much more in tune with their inner child than previous generations, the adults of the modern world can teach their children to revolt hand in hand. Heelys, now but a whisper, lives on in niche corners of culture. TikTok throwbacks, cosplay, and ironic adult usage are all over the internet. The thrill of the glide persists, though mostly for those who dare to mock it in jest. Those who still know the joy of effortless speed make it known. As time marches on, adulthood finds them with a subtle grin, eyes glistening with the unshakable memory of pushing down the cul-de-sac, spinning in madness. In their minds, they still feel the tug of the wheel beneath their feet, the rush of a fleeting moment of true autonomy. The 90s and early 2000s were truly another time, another philosophy, a philosophy that put kids first, a philosophy that gave power to the powerless, a philosophy that said, parents are lame, kids rule. Glimmers of that fun-filled mutiny of the past can still be felt today, deep within our souls.